So everyone, Jason Gilbo here, taking a look at some GPP bats for tonight's slate. If you're looking for stacking options or pitcher advice, you can head over to DaveHenscafe.com. Check out our video pod section, also our great tools and content. But jumping into catcher here, we got a decent-sized slate tonight. Not a lot of weather concerns. A slate with weird pitching, to say the least. And if you've watched two pods already, you kind of know my feelings already. But we'll look at catcher here. This is a spot where I like Alex Avila. I look at Taijuan Walker. This is a guy, struggles against lefties a little bit. 34% hard contact rate, 3.34 WOBA. FIP and XFIP over 4. Home runs have been an issue in the past. Not so much this year, but Alex Avila swinging a hot stick. I don't mind him on either side. A little bit priced up. I'm curious to see if people go that way. So he's an intriguing option. If you're going down lower, I don't mind Wellington Castillo. He's been struggling a little bit. Disappointed in him yesterday, but these Baltimore bats are in a good spot at both sides of the plate. You just look at Miguel Gonzalez. I mean, against righties, 3.32 WOBA, 1.43 runs per 9, fly ball pitcher in that ballpark. I don't mind Castillo at all. Two lefty mashers that I do like. Looking at Cameron Rupp. If he's hitting around 6th or 7th, I'd love it even more, but he's probably going to be around 8th. A little bit disappointing, but back at home, going up against Brian Johnson, who's a guy I'm not afraid to target. Has a lot of 4 home runs to right-handed bats already, 33% hard contact rate. Not a huge sample size, but looks like a low ground ball pitcher, which is usually the trend for lefties. So might run into a little bit of trouble against his Phillies offense. They have some intriguing options. So I think going that rate is a little bit, is going to be a little bit sneaky. So looking at Rupp, over a 400 WOBA, over a 200 ISO against lefties this year. So definitely in play for me. Derek Norris is another one, 354 WOBA off lefties this year, 364 ISO. ISO is probably not going to be sustainable, obviously, but solid lefty masher. 40% line drive rate against lefties this year. Liriano is one of those guys who's just really boomer bust, 390 WOBA to right-handers. In that ballpark, extremely friendly. Bottom half of the order guy, which is kind of what makes him a GPP guy. So I'm okay with targeting those guys in terms of upside and trying to hope for that one-off power shot. So first base, this is power I'm kind of mainly looking to pay up. Mitch Moreland's intriguing because there are a lot of pay-up options in the slate, and because his price tag's right around him. Curious to see what his ownership looks like, but you just look at Jeremy Hellickson, he just doesn't miss bats, low ground ball rate, FIP and XFIP over 6.5. Hard contact sitting at 33%, 1.67 home runs per 9. I like Mitch Moreland here. I don't even mind Hanley as a contrarian option. They're both in play for me with that run total in that ballpark. Actually, you're going to only get one of them. It's probably going to be Moreland, just given the fact that this game's in Philly now. So Anthony Rizzo, once again, bummed he went off for a big night. I liked him a lot. Talked about him yesterday on the GPP pod, but I think the ownership's going to shoot up a little bit, especially because the whole leading off craze is just going to drive people to plug them in a little bit more, especially at his cheaper price tags. But you look at Matt Harvey, 356 WOBA to lefties, 34.4% hard contact rate, so you can see why he's in play there. Citi Field, not bad for lefty power as well. If you want to pay up for Paul Goldschmidt, I love the move a lot tonight. I think there's a ton of upside. Back-to-back games with the home runs, back-to-back games with 3 hits. This guy's just been absolutely dialed in over the last 2 weeks, hitting over 400. Looking at Jordan Zimmerman, this is just one where I'm going to be firing away with. Not a good right-hander, allowing a ton of hard contact, really low ground ball rate. So Diamondbacks bats are in play. I'm curious to see what their ownership is. I don't think it's going to be as high as people think, even with Zimmerman on the hill. So, maybe we're able to get them at some decent numbers. So moving down the list, Miguel Cabrera, 3,400. Sure, I'll take it. I know we haven't seen a ton of power out of him, a ton of upside, but there always is that potential. The expected WOBA, expected ISO and stuff is everything is going to be really locked in. I'm expecting the power numbers to be there. This guy's going to still go out there and hit his 25 home runs, driving 100 runs this year. Maybe not 100, but he's going to drive around 80, 90 runs, and that potential is there. Hitting over 300 the last 2 weeks. X velocities, everything looks really good with him. Hard contact rates extremely solid. Walker's, a guy coming off the DL. This is a tough spot for him. I won't be using him. Detroit total over 5. So if you want a nice standout value play, I don't mind Miguel Cabrera at all. Moving over to second base, Houston bats are really in play. I'm going to continue to target Cashner. Eventually, the blow game is going to come. I think Altuve is an intriguing GPP option because of the price tag, and Brian Dozier is as well, he's heating up here. He's about to go on one of those big home run stretches. We've starting to see it a couple over the last 7 or 8 games or so. So I do like Dozier as well. But the standout kind of price tag for me is Robinson Cano. Good history against Irvin Santana. Santana's a guy who I expect to regress here, especially against lefties. FIP and XFIP over 4. Not allowing a lot of soft contact, even though it's not hard. It's just a lot of hard and medium contact. Just a good spot for Cano. As I said, good history off of him. Really cheap price tag. Friendly ballpark there during the summertime, so I don't mind going that route. You got Odor, who's really heating up too. A couple homers over his last 5 games. The doubles are coming. The multi-hit games are coming. In this ballpark, definitely don't mind it against a rookie right-hander who's had his issues up and down. The whip is troubling. So I'll definitely look at Odor as kind of that pivot because he looks at Cano. I think Cano might be not crazy popular, but popular enough to consider. And then you get some cheap guys. I mean, I don't mind Brandon Drury and Happ. Those guys are both in good spots for the reasons mentioned. So we're at third base. This is a spot where we are loaded. Miguel Sano, I don't mind him. He continues to hit the ball really hard. At home, he's also struggled a little bit. He's hit 4 of his 15 home runs at home this year. But this guy just continues to be locked in. In this matchup, I like it quite a bit. You look at Gaviglo, 33.5 wOBA to righties, 1.62 runs per 9. I'm definitely on board there. Josh Donaldson's red hot against a reverse blitz Jake Odorizzi. Certainly in play, fly ball pitcher. We know his numbers at the Rogers Center are always stellar. Look at Donaldson. He's missed a month. He's got 8 home runs, hitting over 300. Started driving runs. This offense is sneaky tonight. I don't mind, the big bats of like Kendrys Morales, Justin Smoke. I'm not going to be paying for, but he does have some upside. But we look at those guys as the top options, and then you can actually save a couple $100 and use Chris Bryant, who's starting to come around. He's been better off on the road this year in terms of average wise. Good spot here. Homered yesterday, has a hit in his last 4 games. I think this is a good spot for Cubs bats again. I'll be going back to the well. And then you just get down here. I mean, all these big names, Manny Machado, cheap. Kyle Seager, cheap. Wilmer Flores against a lefty. I really don't mind if you want to drop down even further. But on this slate, it's not like you need to just go punt a lot of positions, and third base is definitely a spot where I'm looking to pay up at. I like using Wilmer Flores as a contrarian weight on DraftKings at second base. I don't know if I'll quite be going that route just because I expect third base to be a big power position tonight, and I expect kind of the ownership to be a little bit split. I think Miguel Sano might be coming lower owned than Donaldson, Jake Lamb even. And Chris Bryant. So Sano might be that low or own pivot off of those names. So big bats there. Third base is the spot where I'm paying up at. We're at a shortstop. This is a spot that's not particularly thrilling. I think in terms of cheap guys, you can look at Minnesota and whatever they put out. If it's Jorge Polanco, I don't mind that at all. He's certainly in play. And with that run total, I mean, it's near 6. Like I said, warm night there in Minnesota. The ball really flies out well. He'll be a guy to consider. As far as other guys, I mean, Matt Schumacher has struggled with lefties a little bit. 3.39 wOBA, 37% hard contact rate. Bigger ballpark, which is a problem, but I don't mind Didi Gregorius here. Nice little 15-game history, couple homers over the last few games, but those come in Yankee Stadium. But certainly in play, he's hit well on the road. I think he's a really contrarian one-off options in the late game. So I think I'll be going that route and playing him in a couple one-off spots. So I expect him to go a little bit lower owned. And then, of course, Carlos Correa is in play. Kind of bummed to see Corey Seager's price up a little bit just against Kluber, but he's in play. So definitely a good spot. Eduardo Escobar coming off a monster game, 5 hits. Talked about him yesterday. He'd be a guy to consider as well. So moving to outfield, in terms of pay-up options, you can always do a one-off Judge. You can do a one-off Charlie Blackmon. Mookie Betts is back up in price on DraftKings, given the fact that he's been solid. Had a nice 4-hit game and then dropped off with an 0-for-6. So that's fun. But in a spot here where I don't mind him in a good ballpark. So definitely in play Andrew Benintendi as well. And then we kind of look, I like dropping down here. Nelson Cruz is a nice price on DraftKings. He's expensive on FanDuel going up against Santana in play. But then we just get this mid-range options of like Mitch Haniger, David Peralta. really good spots for these guys. Jose Bautista even. You hit the Baltimore right-handers, Mark Trumbo, Seth Smith is lefty, Adam Jones. Those guys are all real in play. I mean, talked about, these are the prime teams to really looking at tonight in terms of upside. So I love those outfielders a lot. Carlos Gonzalez has been absolutely awful, and I talked about Chad Kuhl on the pod. Carlos Gonzalez, 3,200, hitting below $150 over his last 2 weeks. Everything's been really solid. This might be the spot to actually use him once more. You can swear him off after this, but I like Kuhl if he gets that right-handed heavy lineup. But Kuhl's struggles against lefties are ominous. 434 WOBA, 39% contact rate. It's a bad ballpark, but Carlos Gonzalez at 3,200 on DK, sure, I'll take a shot on. I will have some exposure just in case he does hit that one-off home run. I definitely don't mind. Like I said, but I mean, you got Adam Jones, you got Max Kepler, both 3,400 on DK. There's just a lot of options, and like I said, you're just getting a lot of power bats for a cheap price. So no need to stress out. I'm not going to just be jumping and trying to fill in, and trying to get all the George Springers, all the Aaron Judges. There's cheap guys here that I like, and still being able to fit in, one of the expensive pitchers, because I just can't see not using at least one of them in a lineup. So that's kind of the way I'm going tonight. You can head on over to DaveFantasyGuy.com, check out our great tools and content.